One of the most disheartening experiences for any dedicated English learner is the sudden onset of the stuck feeling, a period often referred to as the plateau. This is the phase where you continue to study, attend classes, and practice diligently, yet the visible progress seems to halt, leading to frustration and self-doubt. It is crucial to understand that this sensation is not an indication of personal failure or lack of aptitude. Instead, it is a normal, predictable, and even essential mechanism of complex skill acquisition. This phase is best illustrated through the metaphor of climbing a beautiful, challenging mountain. Initially, during the beginner stages, every step is a steep ascent. You learn new vocabulary, grasp basic grammar rules, and successfully form your first sentences. The changes are dramatic and immediate. Every week brings a noticeable improvement. You look around, and the view is constantly changing. You can see more of the valley, and you feel energized by this visible progress. However, this rapid ascent cannot last forever. As you reach a certain mid-level proficiency, the path inevitably levels out. You are still walking, still moving forward, but you are no longer gaining significant altitude. Your view remains largely the same. This is the plateau. While externally it feels like stagnation, internally, something profound is happening. The brain is shifting its priority from acquisition to consolidation. In the early stages, the brain prioritizes rapid acquisition of new, surface-level information. But once a significant amount of data, vocabulary, structures, sounds, has been accumulated, the neurological system needs time to catch up. This stuck period is precisely when your brain is working silently in the background, processing, organizing, and strengthening the connections between the huge database of knowledge you have already acquired. It is integrating that knowledge so that it moves from conscious effort, having to think about grammar rules, to subconscious automaticity, speaking without thinking. Think of it like a runner training for a marathon. They don't sprint all the time. They incorporate slower, steady runs to build endurance and muscle strength. The plateau is your linguistic strength-building phase. It doesn't generate loud, dramatic wins, but rather quiet, qualitative improvements. Your pronunciation becomes smoother. Your reaction time in conversation decreases, and your command of subtle nuances improves all forms of invisible progress. Therefore, when you feel stuck, recognize this feeling not as a dead end, but as a clear signal that you have successfully absorbed a massive amount of knowledge. You are not slowing down. You are simply transitioning from a phase of quantity to a phase of quality. By reframing this experience, you can stop feeling frustrated and start trusting this natural, albeit challenging, process that precedes your next major leap toward true English fluency. If the feeling of being stuck is the symptom, the primary disease is often the seductive trap of the comfort zone. After successfully navigating the initial steep climb, Idea 1, learners inevitably settle into a routine where their daily English practice becomes predictable and, unfortunately, insufficiently demanding. This reliance on familiarity is the single biggest factor halting further visible progress. The problem stems from human nature. We naturally gravitate towards activities that make us feel competent and successful. In language learning, this translates into a powerful, almost subconscious, desire to engage only with the material we can easily understand and the topics we can discuss fluently. For instance, a learner might consistently choose to read short, familiar texts where they know 95% of the vocabulary, watch the same genres of films or YouTube videos with predictable language patterns, only discuss routine topics like their job, hobbies, or daily life, avoiding controversial or technical subjects. While these activities are excellent for maintenance and confidence, they fundamentally fail to push the linguistic boundaries. As the speaker highlights, this is akin to consistently going to the gym and only lifting the exact same weight day after day. Your muscles are strong enough to handle that weight, but they have zero incentive to grow larger or stronger. Similarly, your brain becomes highly effective at processing the English it already knows, but it receives no stimulus, no challenge to develop new neural pathways or higher-level skills. The shift from visible to invisible progress accentuates this issue. In the early days, everything was a challenge. forcing the brain to grow rapidly. Now, because your practice remains within your competence threshold, the improvements you are making, for example, slightly better phrasing, are too subtle to notice, reinforcing the deceptive feeling of stagnation. To break this vicious cycle, learners must recognize that growth occurs only at the edges of their ability. True learning happens when you encounter material that is slightly beyond your current comfort level, what is often called input plus one or the stretch zone. If you always understand 95% of a text, aim for a text where you understand only 80% and 85%. This slight increase in difficulty forces your contextual inference skills to activate. If you always discuss comfortable topics, force yourself to research and debate an unfamiliar political or philosophical topic. This demands the recall and application of specialized, low-frequency vocabulary. Essentially, the solution is to reintroduce cognitive friction. You must willingly seek out situations that make you feel momentarily uncomfortable, clumsy, or prone to making mistakes. This deliberate act of self-challenge sends a clear signal to your brain. What you know is not enough. Rapid development is required. By consistently challenging your current level, you dismantle the comfort zone and create the necessary environment for the plateau to become the launching pad for your next major linguistic ascent. Following the recognition of the plateau, Idea 1, and the danger of the comfort zone, Idea 2. The third and most actionable strategy for breaking through is the output imperative. This principle dictates that true fluency, the ability to use language automatically and effectively, is forged not merely by what you consume, input, but by what you actively produce, output. In language learning, input encompasses all the ways English comes into your brain: listening to podcasts, watching movies, and reading books or articles. Output, conversely, is the language that comes out of your mouth, speaking, or your pen, writing. While input builds your vocabulary database and understanding of grammar, relying too heavily on it creates a common and debilitating imbalance. Many learners reach a stage where they can understand almost everything they hear or read, yet they struggle immensely when attempting to speak or write. This is the classic symptom of a weak output muscle. The problem is one of activation and retrieval. Reading or listening only requires passive recognition. The brain sees a word and recognizes its meaning. However, speaking or writing requires active retrieval, the ability to pull the exact correct word, phrase, and grammatical structure out of your memory bank under time pressure. If you do not practice this retrieval process frequently, your active English skills remain sluggish and inefficient, leading to the frustrating experience of knowing the word but not being able to use it. To correct this imbalance, you must commit to pushing your output. This means creating and seizing opportunities to use English in real time, focusing on new and challenging contexts. Speaking challenge. If you usually discuss your routine, force yourself to try explaining a complex news story, giving a detailed opinion on a philosophical topic, or even teaching someone a new concept. The goal is to move beyond practice scripts. Utilize methods like shadowing, mimicking a native speaker's speech immediately, and self-talk to activate your speaking muscles regularly. Writing challenge. Go beyond simple texts. Write argumentative essays, summarize books, or write a fictional short story. This forces you to link complex ideas coherently using higher-level linking words and structures. Crucially, the output imperative requires a radical shift in mindset regarding mistakes. When engaging in high-stakes output, you will make errors, you will fumble for words, and you will feel clumsy. This is not failure, it is data. Mistakes are the essential feedback mechanism that tells your brain exactly which areas need refinement, forcing it to strengthen the weak links in your linguistic chain. The goal of output practice is not perfection, but frequency and exposure to new structures. By embracing the chaos and discomfort of active production, you train your brain to retrieve knowledge quickly and efficiently, directly translating your passive understanding into fluent, active communication. The consistent production of language is the only path that transforms knowledge about English into true competency in English. While recognizing the plateau, Idea 1, and pushing for consistent output, Idea 3, are crucial mindset shifts. The next step involves implementing precise, tactical changes to your study schedule and monitoring habits. The challenge of the plateau is that the progress is so minuscule, the invisible progress, that it fails to sustain motivation. Therefore, two practical strategies are essential: optimizing your study routine for mental efficiency and making your subtle gains tangible. Strategy A: the effectiveness of short, focused bursts. Many intermediate learners believe that dedicating long, marathon study sessions, say 2 hours once a week, is the key to accelerating their learning. This approach often proves counterproductive due to the limits of human concentration. After the initial period, mental fatigue sets in, leading to diminished retention, reduced focus, and increased feelings of overwhelm. The more effective technique is to utilize short, focused bursts, committing to just 15 to 20 minutes of study every single day. This strategy leverages two powerful cognitive principles: consistency over intensity. Daily, consistent exposure keeps the language active in your working memory. The brain processes and consolidates information much more effectively when it encounters it regularly, reinforcing neural pathways and making retrieval faster. Hyper-focus on a single task. Within that short 15-minute window, you must dedicate yourself to one highly specific goal: mastering a single grammar structure, practicing one short listening exercise, or drilling a small group of thematically linked vocabulary. This singular focus prevents cognitive overload, reduces boredom, and ensures that the material is deeply encoded, transitioning smoothly from short-term to long-term memory. By adopting this burst methodology, learning becomes a sustainable, low-friction habit rather than a daunting chore. This prevents the burnout that often accompanies the plateau, ensuring your journey continues even when the road feels flat. Strategy B: transforming invisible progress into tangible proof. Tracking. During the plateau, changes are incremental. Your pronunciation improves slightly, your sentence structure is a little more correct, and your hesitation marginally decreases. These small victories are easily missed, leading to the subjective feeling, "I am not improving anymore." To counteract this motivational killer, learners must deliberately externalize and record their progress. The recommended method is active tracking. The weekly recording ritual. Once a week, record yourself speaking for 1 to 2 minutes on any topic. Use a simple voice memo app or video recorder. These recordings serve as objective data points. The 30-day comparison. After accumulating 4 to 6 recordings, sit down and compare the very first recording with the most recent one. This comparison creates the necessary time gap to reveal the accumulated small gains. Suddenly, the abstract feeling of non-improvement is replaced by concrete evidence. You will hear subtle but definite increases in your speaking pace, a reduction in the number of ums and ahs, smoother transitions between clauses, and a palpable boost in vocal confidence. Just as seeing a child after 6 months reveals their height increase, this tracking method makes the cumulative power of your consistent effort undeniable, providing the objective proof needed to maintain motivation through the challenging, quiet phases of the learning process. As we conclude the strategies for breaking the plateau, the final phase involves not just changing how you study, but what you study, and, most importantly, how you think about success. This requires the adoption of stretch activities, coupled with a fundamental commitment to trusting the slow, quiet nature of the fluency process. Strategy A: actively seeking the stretch activity. A stretch activity is the intentional, strategic task designed to pull you out of the comfort zone. It is meticulously calibrated to be just a little harder than your current level. It must be challenging enough to feel uncomfortable and force deep retrieval, but not so overwhelming that it causes frustration and withdrawal. It is the linguistic equivalent of a gentle, persistent pull forward. These activities force the learner to engage the exact cognitive processes that stagnate during the plateau. For speaking, instead of preparing a script, have a 5 to 10-minute conversation with a partner or yourself where the rule is zero use of your first language. L1. This forces rapid retrieval and circumlocution, explaining a word you don't know. For reading, select a short story or news article and commit to reading it entirely without a dictionary. This activates contextual inference skills. training your brain to guess meaning from surrounding information, a vital skill for real-world fluency. For writing, choose a topic you have never written about before, a technical concept, a historical analysis, or a summary of a complicated philosophical debate. This demands the use of new, specialized vocabulary and complex linking structures. These stretch moments are critical because they highlight the precise gaps in your active knowledge, making the invisible areas of weakness visible. By targeting these weaknesses immediately, you force the next stage of growth. Strategy B: trusting the incremental process and celebrating micro-wins. Ultimately, language fluency is not built in one day or one dramatic leap. It is built in a countless series of small, often silent steps. This is the core of the trust mindset. Many learners lose motivation not because they stop improving, but because they wait for big, visible, dramatic improvement to feel proud. When the progress slows, during the plateau, they feel defeated and stop believing in their effort. To overcome this, the learner must adopt two principles. Trust the cumulative power. Understand that the effort you put in today, even if it feels small, is being registered and consolidated by your brain. You must trust that the small, quiet steps you take daily are collectively moving you toward your goal. Celebrate the micro-wins. Stop waiting for a major breakthrough. Instead, actively seek and celebrate the smallest achievements. You understood one more phrase in a fast-paced conversation. You wrote a paragraph with fewer simple mistakes. You remembered a word without hesitation. These small wins are tangible proof that the process is working. Celebrating them maintains the positive emotional feedback loop necessary for long-term consistency. The speaker concludes by reminding the listener that fluency is the destination, but learning is the journey. When you find joy in the process, the discomfort of the stretch, the discipline of the daily burst, and the pride of the micro-win, you maintain momentum. And when you keep going, the promised results will always come. So, remember this critical truth. The slow zone or plateau is not the end of your journey. It is simply a quiet road before your next great climb. You are not stuck. You are processing. By actively pushing your output into the uncomfortable stretch zone and implementing short, focused study bursts, you are systematically preparing your brain for the next level of fluency. Trust the invisible power of small, consistent steps, and never wait for dramatic leaps to feel proud. Celebrate every single micro-win, every word understood, every sentence spoken smoothly as proof that you are winning this marathon. Your commitment is building a strong foundation, and your results are guaranteed if you simply keep going. If you found these strategies helpful and are ready to tackle your next great English challenge, make sure you join our community. Don't miss out on essential tips and daily practice to help you break through every plateau. Subscribe now to the English Listening Podcast 365, and let us walk this final path to fluency together. Keep learning, keep smiling, and keep believing in yourself.